What's poppin', everybody? It's your boy Snowy Kurama, and is that Draft League content I smell in the air? Well, it is. We're back for some WPF Season 6, or World Pokemon Federation, if you like them long words. It's been a while, ladies and gentlemen, since we had a proper Draft League on the channel, and what better one to bring back than the one that we just did? I was surprised that these guys brought the main season in so damn early, but I guess since the sports server is around and active, we actually have access to all of the post-DLC moves and some of the hidden abilities that were released just with the Isle of Armor, and that's exactly what this season is. It is an Isle of Armor legal season, which means all of the new abilities that have released, which is Libero for Cinderace, Grassy Surge for Rillaboom, etc, etc, etc. Everything you're seeing on the ladder we can use here in the WPF, plus and minus some mods that are banned and not banned depending on what they want to do. So as you can see on the screen, just in case that you forgot, we have 1100 points to pick 11 mons. And we have some stipulations. We have to pick a Tier 1, Tier 2, 2 Tier 3s, a Tier 4, and a Tier 5. And then the rest of our slots we can just kind of fill in with whatever the hell we want, as long as our selections are within the 1100 points, which are including the tier required mods, which I know about this time. We are in D Division yet again, the lowest of the low, but that's okay because you saw how far we got last time. We got 5-5 when looking back at it. Pretty sure we could have gone 7-3 or 8-2. So we're going to go in and hopefully get around that, if not exceed it. Probably just around that though, because I think 8-2 is a bit high for your boy, but you know, we're out here with a new logo. Look at that thing, look at that clean thing. I've been designing that ever since the end of PDL Season 5 because I wanted to use it when I got my confidence back up as a drafter and a battler, and I think we made it. I wanted to unveil it for the next PDL, but I thought, why not bring it out here in the WPF. D-Div has a couple of new coaches. As you can see on the layout, there are 6 coaches that are returning, and then the rest are either completely new or have dropped down from C Division. I don't think we have any B Division guys. That'd be crazy. But yeah, we have a couple from C, a couple that are new, and then 6 that are back. So I guess a third of our competition is old faces according to us, and then the other 12 are new, so it's not exactly the same old bunch. So it's essentially a completely new division in a completely new league, which is completely fine as far as I'm concerned. I'm ready to battle these new guys, ready to take on what they've got in store for us. So without any further ado, let's get into the freaking draft thingamajig. We got our sports server up here. Look at this nice new don't allow spectators button. That won't be utilized for this draft league, of course. That's only for the laddering. And let's just, jump into it. So we were 9th in the drafting order, which I'm not a fan of. 9th is right in the middle in this league of 18 people, or division, I should say, of 18 people. And I prefer to be as close to the wheel as I possibly can, maybe even being like maybe first wheel. Because if you're first in the draft order, you get to pick the mon that you absolutely want to pick, no matter what it is. It's yours, guaranteed. So we didn't get that opportunity, unfortunately. We did it with the GTS, but not this time. And lo and behold, the 3 Pokemon that I wanted to pick, I had 3 on my list of I really want to use this season of WPF. I didn't really think about my drafting too much. I still had things that I was trying to do during that time, but I was wanting to use Urshifu. In case you didn't know, Isle of Armor DLC has a couple of new mods. One of them is Urshifu. It has a dark fighting and a water fighting form, as well as Galarian Slowbro, which is poison psychic, and then a bunch of other new moves that we'll get into once we run into them and such. So Urshifu was something that I wanted to pick early on because of its unseen fist ability, which makes it go past protect as well as its Wicked Blow and I want to say Surging Strike move respectively for the Dark and Water type. They always end up in a crit. I believe the Dark move is like 80 base power, 85, and then the Water move is a 3-turn hit move that is 25 points of damage each, but it's all crit, so it's critting through everything. Screens, who cares? If you resist it, who cares? You're still getting critted no matter what with this big power move, with these big power mons, and it's just insane. So I really wanted Urshifu. And then Urshifu got picked first. So like, okay, shit, well, let's go on to the next one. I wanted the Libero Cinderace because that thing is crazy good in draft and crazy good on the ladder. So it's the best of both worlds. Let's just try to grab that. It went second. And then I thought, okay, so there's this cool thing called Dragapult that I always forget to draft that I really wanted to try because of how fast it is and the fact that it's a ghost and a dragon type. Really cool typing, really good typing to have on a draft. And that was picked third. So here we are, first, second, and third draft picks going away that I had planned. So yeah, you know, we're starting off strong here. Let's just click the team builder that I got loaded up and see what we went with. I decided that because Landorus-T is like the mon that is old reliable in draft, you know, you can't really go wrong with picking it. I decided why not just scoop that up. It was still there. It might not be as good as it once was back in 7th gen draft. I don't really know, but we have it on the team now. It lasted till 9th pick. It's got a nice attack stat and an okay speed stat. It's not the best in the world, but it's definitely not the slowest thing. It's very good defensive stats in 89, 90, and 80 in you know, HP defense and special defense respectively. Really turn it out to be a pretty defensive mon with Stealth Rock, Defog capabilities as well as other moves. It has access to moves that can boost both offense on the attacking side and special attacking side, so we could potentially run a special Landorus if we wanted to. The Intimidate ability is pretty good because it can lower the attacking stats of my opponent. Now that won't matter to Mr. Urshifu user, but it matters to everything else. I think someone else drafted the other Urshifu too, so we have 2 of those to worry about, but I mean, that's fine. Ground Flying is a pretty nice typing. It's only weak to Ice by 4 times and Water by 2 times, so we shouldn't really be running more Ice weaknesses on the team if we can, you know, if we can help it. I mean, I know we're going to run into a couple, but we shouldn't have like a bunch of Ice weaknesses just on the team clogging it. So this thing is a tier 1A, which means it's the most expensive mon that you can grab at 180 points. So you can see on the bottom of the screen there, our points went from 1100 to 920. So yeah, we still have lots of points left, but goes down nonetheless. I decided to name this thing after scouring the internet Land-O-Lakes after the butter. Because, you know, Land-O-Lakes, Landorus, it's kind of a play on words if you don't think about it too much. Anyway, this league is a no cut mover allowed league, so that means Pursuit as well as all the hidden powers and Return and Frustration are all gone. So if we do run a special Landorus, we cannot take advantage of hidden power Ice or hidden power whatever the fuck we'd want to run. Instead, we'd have to focus on all of its other moves, which it does get a pretty nice special move pool and physical move pool. So Landorus is one of those mons that you really don't know what the hell it's going to be until it reveals its set, which can be said for anything in draft, but Landorus is very versatile. So that's really good to pick for us. Electric was somebody that I went to try to figure out what the hell to do next, because I was very distraught about not having any of my first 3 picks, which I mean, it is what it is, it happens, but I was distraught nonetheless. And he said that Empoleon was a really nice pick to go wrong with Landorus, and I would have to agree. Whereas Landorus is physically bulky with the Intimidate to boot, this thing has 84, 88, and 101 defenses, so this thing is more especially defensive, which is really nice. It also has access to Stealth Rock and Defog, just like Landorus, so we have a dual Brock dual defog core type thing going. We have access to Defiant in case we want to run some sort of weakness policy set. Definitely could happen. This thing also has access to a wide amount of, not a super duper wide amount of coverage moves, but it has physical and special coverage onto it. So we could potentially make this 86 attack stat actually strong and big if we wanted to go offense. But yeah, this defensive core is pretty nice because Landorus can take care of the ground weaknesses and the electric weaknesses that Empoleon has, and Landorus is weak to both ice and water, which Empoleon covers up 100% completely with its water steel typing. So yeah, it's pretty good. A steel type is great to have on draft, so is a water type, bulky water, and that's what we have in Empoleon. I will put up on the screen what league that I drafted each one of these mons in before, because we do have a couple of repeats. I know I used Landorus before, and I've used Empoleon before. I just couldn't for the life of me remember what league it was in. Some of them I remember, but not a lot of them. Empoleon is a tier 3 at 100 points, so you can see our points going down by 100. That means that this is a higher end tier 3 mon, which means we have 2 out of our 6 required Pokemon down, none of our free guys, and this thing is named Cobalt because it's a steel type and it's blue. Cobalt's a blue steel thing, so yeah, there it is, Empoleon. Excited to use this thing again. It's been a bit. Up next, I went to Aaren to try to figure out, my Aaren friends, I should say, to try to figure out what it is I should pick up next, and Nick suggested that I grab Sylveon, and I really like Sylveon. I think I've used it in 2 leagues before, maybe just the 1. I know I really like this thing on the ladder. Back in 6th gen, I ran it quite a bit, even though it was UU, I still used it in OU because it wasn't too bad. Its physical defense is crap, but it's 95 HP and 130 special defense. Really big, bulky special defense makes this thing a hard wall for lots of things, especially since its fairy typing is pretty nice defensively unless your name is poison or steel type. And we also have this 110 special attack stat, so we could potentially run specs if we wanted to take advantage of that stat. We have access to a bunch of different coverage moves because of the hidden power purge of the Generation 8, so we could take advantage of that. We also have Pixelate right here, which means, we can use our Hyper Voice, Pixelate stuff that it likes to do. This thing can Wish, Protect, possibly heal back up our Steel type or our Landorus here, so that thing will be very, very important for that. This thing is a Tier 2B, as you can see here, that's 120 points, so we go down again. We are not really going through our points as fast as some of our other drafters, mainly because I'm always scared that we're going to run out of points. That's kind of an issue that I have. I'll get used to that eventually, doing enough of these point-based drafts. And we decided to nickname this thing Bubblegum. I couldn't find the nickname that I used for this in the season that I used before, which I believe was Season 5 of the PDL. But because I think I used no names then. But we have Bubblegum here. This thing is pink, so is Bubblegum, so yeah, there we go. Sylveon, nice fairy type to have on my team. So our next pick, I went to Electric again and said, hey, I got this. It seems pretty cool. I don't know why it lasted till round 3. I guess people weren't really looking for fairies because they're more concerned about the new Island of Armor stuff. And then he said, well, you should probably grab something that's more power heavy since, we've just picked up defensive mons so far that could be used for offense, but mostly they're known for their defensive capabilities. So why not pick up Mega Pinsir? This thing is another flying type for the team. It's also a bug type, which we don't have yet. We used this thing prior in PDL, I believe. This 155 attack stat is crazy, and we got 105 speed to boot, which means that it's also faster than all of these guys, which is something that we definitely needed. Its 65 HP stat is not great, but paired with this 120 and 90 means that Mega Pinsir can take some hits, probably just like 1 before it goes down. We also have to be very wary with rocks, but because we have defogging options right there in Landorus and Empoleon. That means that we should probably be okay. This thing can boost its attack stat with Swords Dance, as well as using a lot of its coverage options. Unfortunately, because of Generation 8 being what it is, we cannot use Aerial 8 boosted Return. But we do have access to these other abilities, supposing we don't want to Mega Evolve right away and take advantage of them. This thing's nickname, I could not think of anything except for this right here. Nightmare Fuel, because imagine you're in your bed, middle of the night, you wake up, see this thing in your face. Bam, nightmares. Also, you're probably going to get eaten. But, I mean, you'll get nightmares for sure. At the very least. That's Mega Pinsir. I'm excited to use this thing again. Saw Adam using it in PDL, I think it was the Season 5. And he was just wrecking house with it, made it all the way to the semis, so hopefully we can try to do the same thing here. Next up on the team, I was focusing on grabbing... Oh yeah, also this is a Tier 2A, you can see it up here, which means it's a higher end Tier 2. And we're dipping into our free agents right there, or free pointer things right there, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. You'll see it on the screen. But anyway, next pick. I really wanted a normal type because that can help us against ghosts, as well as I was looking for either that or maybe an electric type so that we can start using Volt Switch, because as you can see, we have U-Turn right here. Baton Pass right here, we're allowed to Dry Pass, which means no stat buffs when you're using Baton Pass. I don't think this thing gets anything. I don't think you get U-Turn or anything. So I was really looking for a mon that had that turning capability, that switch initiative. So we went with Heliolisk. Heliolisk is a mon that I've seen Gage and others use in the past, and I was like, that mon seems pretty nice to have. It's base 109, which means it's now the fastest thing on our team. You know, following up Pinsir and Landorus, which isn't saying too much, but at least it's not slow as dick. We also have this base 109 special attack stat, which is nothing to really laugh about, but its defense and attack stat are pretty laughable, as well as its HP, but it's got a pretty nice special defense, so we should be able to take a special hit, maybe two, depending. It has three really cool abilities that really just depend on weather: Dry Skin, Sand Veil, and Solar Power for rain, sand, and sun respectively. So while we don't really have much for weather so far, this thing can still kind of be an anti-weather pick for our opponent's team. This thing has access to both U-Turn and Volt Switch, which is really, you know, it answers all the freaking questions that I had and concerns that I had at the point of drafting this thing. Plus, it's a faster electric type, which means we can go ahead and just Volt Switch on out of there, do our Thunderbolt thing if we want to do that. So yeah, that's Heliolisk. This thing is a higher end Tier 3 mon, which is our second one, so we don't need any more Tier 3s as far as our required mons are concerned. And because I couldn't think much of a better nickname for this thing, I just picked Sunshine, because this thing is designed to power up what's his name, Clement's power plant in Pokemon X and Y, and it evolves with the Sunstone, so Sunshine, the Heliolisk is here. I know, it's pretty original. Up next is a Pokemon that I really wanted to use ever since I first saw it be used on the ladder and knew exactly, you know, what it had to bring to the table. But every time I went to go take it, ever since PDL Season 4, it kept getting sniped. And as I was thinking of a Ghost Resist on the team in Heliolisk, I was also thinking about a Ghost type for myself. We also didn't have a Rapid Spinner on the team, which would be great, supposing that we wanted to keep up our own hazards. So I decided to pick up Dhelmise on the team. Dhelmise is not our first lower end tier mon, as Sylveon is a lower end Tier 2. But it's our first lower end Tier 3, which means we are dipping into our free slots yet again. Has access to Steelworker, which means our steel moves are basically stab. This thing's got a really nice attack stat of 131, even though it's got this piss poor speed right here, but we have some nice defensive stats and 190, 70 being okay for HP, but as far as ghost types are concerned, I think it's pretty good. But this thing has access to the new move Poltergeist, which if you don't know, it's pretty much a frisk and a very strong, hard-hitting physical ghost type attack, but it fails if your opponent doesn't have an item. So that kind of sucks, but you can pretty much tell on preview if your opponent has an item, so if you get rid of that Mon, you don't have to really worry about it too much. So Acrobatics Mons we'll have to worry about if they just run no item Acrobatics, but other than that, Dhelmise's Poltergeist should be able to be very, very helpful for us. You know, as I said, it's a good rapid spinner. It's good at what it does, being defensive, as well as being a grass type added to the team, which means it helps our ground weaknesses right here and takes a little bit of pressure off of these two for being our only ground immunities on the team, as this thing resists. So that's really, really good. Also blocks the normal moves, no normal spam. Pretty nice. Now, shout out to Sean for this freaking nickname. I'm just gonna type it and let you sound that out for yourself. God damn it, Sean. Anyway, the next pick that I wanted to get was also a suggestion from Discord server that I'm in with a bunch of friends, and it's a high-end tier 2 Mon, so I honestly think Landorus is the only tier 1 Mon that we grabbed, because at this point, unless you want a bunch of lower tiered Mons on your team, you have to pick higher end or lower end tier 2s just to fill it out. So yeah, we didn't have a psychic type yet, and our fastest Mon at the time was 109, and with things running around like a Mega Aerodactyl at 150, Tapu Koko at 130, and other Pokemon that are just running, you know, 110, 120 speed, the speed tier is not great at all. So yeah, we didn't have a psychic type yet either, and we have more rapid spin utility to help out Pinsir with Starmie, another Pokemon that I've drafted before. This thing is really, really good for us because it is a faster Pokemon at 115, which means we'll be outspeeding base 100s with, I guess, another Mon, but also base 110s, so that's really, really cool. This base 100 attack stat, special attack stat, isn't bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. We got ways to boost that, though. And this thing's ability is usually analytic because, look at this, if it's Pokemon attacks, it has 1.3 times power if it is the last to move in a turn. And the way this game works is that if you switch out, you're technically the last to go. So analytic will work that way. And we have natural career as well, just in case we see a bunch of toxic spikes going down or status and inflictions, so we can just get rid of those without having to care about Heal Bell. This thing is another water type, which is really, really good for Landorus's weakness to ice as well as your weakness to ice. We also can take down ground types better with a water type that is not weak to ground, like Empoleon is. So that's really, really good. As I said, this thing has access to Rapid Spin, and because of the Rapid Spin buff being 50 base power as well as raising your speed by 1 potentially, I don't remember what the chance is. I mean, the way it looks here is that it's guaranteed, but I don't think Rapid Spin is guaranteed to raise your speed. I might be wrong, but I really don't honestly think it is. I think I've used Rapid Spin a couple of times and it hasn't happened like that. But shout out to Destiny for this nickname, because all the ones that I found were crap. I didn't want to just name this thing Patrick because that's generic as hell. And other nicknames I found were not as good at all. This thing's a star, right? They have 5 sides, or 5 points. So this thing, you know, pent, as in like pentagon, pentagram, 5, pent up aggression. This thing is mad and ready to go. It's ready to come at you with all of its water psychic bullshit that it wants to throw at you. And if you want to be super duper stickler about its 10 sides, you can look at it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 5 again. So yeah, there we go. Pent up aggression, the Starmie. This thing is mad and ready to come for your soul. Up next, we did not have a fighting type. so I wanted to grab one of those since it is a type that is resistant to rock, which is great for stealth rock. And Arca suggested Hariyama. Now this thing has been following me around since the Snakewood LP that has died on this channel, as well as the Pokemon Rejuvenation playthrough that I've been doing on my own. This thing has some pretty nice abilities in Thick Fat Guts and Sheer Force, so we could be resisting fire and ice moves, as well as giving this thing a Flame Orb and having it run house, or just having it do some nice damage with Sheer Force. It has some nice fighting moves, and look at this thing's a nice and big attack stat at 120. Its defenses at 60 and 60 are not that great, nor is its speed, but its HP stat is 144, which is really cool. Looking at this thing's hands, you'd think it'd get Defog, but it doesn't. It does get Whirlwind though, which is pretty cool for hazard abuse. So yeah, Hariyama's on the team. Very excited to use this thing. It is a higher end tier form on, so we're finally grabbing something that isn't 1, 2, or 3. And then after this, we'll just have to fill in our tier 5 slot. This thing's nickname is a tradition here on the channel since, well, the only LP it's been in, which is Snakewood, but it feels like it's been following me around for longer. Potatoes the Hariyama has joined us on the team. That is 60 points more gone, and at this point we are at 180, which means we have to... Right? 180? No. Yes? Yes, 180. I'm sorry, my math is weird. Yeah, we're at 180 at this point, so that means we can't really take any more tier 1s at this point, which is honestly fine by me. This thing will be nice to have, can take some hits, can deal them back. It's not very fast, but it doesn't need to be for what I need it for. I'm excited to use Hariyama. So speaking of speed, as you can see, our fastest mon here is Heliolisk at 109. That's not, no, actually our fastest mon is Starmie at 115, which is not good. But 109 is not that far behind, so I can see how I was getting that confused. But 115, it's good speed, don't get me wrong, but it's not the fastest, or it shouldn't be the fastest, rather, on a Draft League team. So we went ahead and used 60 points for another tier 4 in a Selgor. This thing's speed stat is 145. It is the fastest Pokemon that I could get with my points that is valid to use in draft. I could have picked up Ninjask, but no thank you. We already have a Bug Flying on the team, and this thing at least isn't 4 times weak to rocks. This thing has Unburdened, so we could potentially not run Timid on this thing considering at 145 speed, which means we could potentially run Modest on this thing or make it even bulkier with its 80, 40, and 68 defenses, which are not great at all, but you know, anything's possible in draft. This thing has some nice special coverage, even though Hidden Power has been cut, so its coverage isn't as great as it used to be, but it's still pretty nice. It has access to hazards such as Toxic Spikes and regular spikes, and it also has U-turn capabilities. I think it can use Baton Pass as well. We can up its stats with moves, I believe. I know it gets agility, which, I mean, you know, it definitely needs agility with that speed stat. But I don't really remember if I've used a Selgor before. I know I've seen it used in draft. I've used it on the ladder in Generation 7, but I don't think I've ever used it in draft. I could be wrong, though. Either way, I'm excited to have a Selgor on the team. It's another bug type, which isn't great, in my opinion, but, I mean, we needed the speed. The Selgor's speedy, so that's where we're at right now. Aburame is its nickname because I'm a Naruto fan, if you guys haven't known that. Not Boruto, but Naruto. And Shino Aburame of the Aburame clan is the bug user in that show because Aburame is the bug clan. They use bugs for attacking and such. So that's this thing's nickname. It's the Aburame clan bug ninja boy because look at that ninja star up on top of its head. It's ninja. Yeah. So I was looking around in my draft and noticed that I did not have a poison type. That is very useful for getting rid of toxic spikes because a grounded poison just sits on the field, it soaks up the toxic spikes on entry, and you don't have to deal with them anymore. You don't necessarily have to spin them away, get toxics yourself. But looking around, we had 120 points left 20 of those points had to go towards our tier 5 that we still needed on the team. We had up to 100 to use. Arca suggested Drapion because it filled the Dark type role, which makes us immune to Prankster, which is nice, as well as just having Dark for Ghost and Psychic type Pokemon, which are generally very, very strong hitters, as well as the Poison type option to soak up those Toxic Spikes. But that Mon got taken not very long after he said that, but also not very long after I found this gem just hidden in Tier 3, high-end Tier 3. Say hello to Alolan Muk. This thing is back from BRL, and I'm excited to have it on the team again. It is Poison Dark, like I said. This has 105, 75, 100 defensive stats, which is really, really awesome for us. We can run Assault Vest and be really, really bulky, especially. This thing has not great defense stat, but I mean, we have a 105 HP as well as a 105 attack that we can use to hit things without an investment, still pretty decently hard for super effective damage. It's got some nice abilities in Poison Touch and Gluttony. It's a great knockoff user. We also have knockoff users throughout the team, so we can get rid of items that Wanker here doesn't want to just Poltergeist. And this thing's name is also from Sean and from the BRL. LS Demon. You got all these colors and it's a dark type, so you know those things are known to be devious little demons. And there it is, LS Demon. Now our last Mon on the team, as you can see, we filled out our Tier 1, our Tier 2, our 2 Tier 3s, our Tier 4 already, and we used all of our free wild card picks. So we just have to pick up that one little measly Mon that we're required to bring around with us in the freaking back. Probably not seeing any games. It might. Who really knows at this point? And I looked around on that list. You're really supposed to, or at least I think with your Tier 5 if you pick it last. Really just any Mon if you pick it last. Just rounding out the rest of your team with defensive options that you might need, or maybe something that takes care of a Mon that you're really weak to. I said fuck all that when I saw this thing. We got Reboot. We weren't able to get Big Papa Cinderace, so we were able to get a young teenage angst here Reboot. It's got Libero for its ability, as well as Blaze, but it also has Libero, which means typing matches the attack that it's about to use, which means everything it has is Stab. We can use its coverage to change its type to any of these that we might need it to change it to. So you're not really guaranteed any super effective damage on Reboot unless you do some predicting. It's got 94 speed, which is really, really, really good for an NFE in my opinion. 86 attack isn't too bad, you know, considering it's an NFE. But it's got stab attacks. All of its attacks are stab. I think this thing is a steal at Tier 5, personally. Personally, I think it is. It's still super strong. It's got some nice utility in Super Fang as well, if we want to do that. And because it's named Reboot, you know, boots. I'm just naming this thing Tim's because it's a boot. We also have heavy duty boots. It's a generation of boots. So yeah, this is your Season 6 Chicago White Sox for the WPF. We got Land O'Lakes the Landorus, Cobalt the Empoleon, Bubblegum the Sylveon, Nightmare Fuel the Mega Pinsir, Sunshine the Heliolisk, Wanker the Delmise, Pent Up Aggression the Starmie, Potatoes the Hariyama, Aburame the Aselgor, LS Demon the Alolan Muk, and Tim's the Reboot. I think we have a pretty decent team here. Lots of good defensive options, lots of nice offensive options. We actually have ice moves this time around instead of not really having a good one up until like week 7 or 8 last season. So pretty excited for all of that to happen. Our first match is against Kaiwai, one of our D-Div mods, and he is the coach of the Las Vegas Lotties. Pretty excited for the new match against one of our newer D-Div acceptees, I guess. I don't know. Still excited to see that, so expect that sometime in the near future. Leave in a comment who your favorite team member is, who you think is going to just put in the absolute most work. Maybe something that you would have rather seen on the team rather than any of the mons that we have up here. Maybe some better nicknames if you have them. I think I'm pretty much locked in on these names, but it'd still be nice to see all that interaction. So that's really all I have to say now. Looking forward to this season. 7-3 hopefully. And that's really it. Like this video if you have not already and you would like to. Subscribe if you're new on the channel, or if you've been watching a little bit and want some of that Snowy Kurama goodness. Tickle that bell so you know when it is I'm uploading. This has been your boy Snowy Kurama. See you in the next video. Goodbye.